forward to your arrival on Halloween night.
Hey Pumpkinists, today we're going to talk about Spyder, the second accomplice in pumpkinism who rules over things like water. Appearance-wise, Spyder is orange. His skin is orange, and he has leaves for hair, and he wears this massive cloak of white spider silk, which is the first difference between him and his sisters, as both Festiva and Vinia have monochrome color schemes while he has 3 colors in his. In the holy text, Spyder first appears at his birth, which happens in the last patch by the hand of the pumpkin. He's made out of a pumpkin, using a secretive ritual given to the great pumpkin by the rats. The other species of animals helping in his birth were the bats and the spiders. The rats were rewarded, being able to come and go as they please from the last patch. The bats have a similar reward, and the spiders gave their name to Spyder, hence why he's named Spyder. At his birth, he was given 4 gifts, actually. From the spiders, of course, the spider silk cloak. From the rats, the happiness potion, and from the bats, a whistle with which he could call them whenever he needed. He also got a crystal ball from the spiders, who they told him about, and then at the mention of her name, Earth started crying. Earth tells Spyder the story of Festiva, after which he decides that was probably a shitty thing to do, locking her up in the mountain. So he sets off to save her with the help of the bats, his happiness potion, and his spider silk cloak. The bats carry him to the base of the mountain, where they leave him on his own, as it was a pretty hard flight for all of them. And then he climbs up on his own, eventually reaching the ice rock chamber thing where Festiva is being held. He's entranced by her spell to keep people from waking her for a day or 2, and then eventually he snaps out of it and tries to thaw her, which he can't, largely because she won't let go of the eternal flame. So instead, on top of the ice prison, he slides down the stairs that led up to it, down the mountain, destroying the stairs and all traces of the ice prison. By the time they reach flatlands, Festiva is completely thawed, and they go about thawing the earth together. After the earth is thawed and everything goes back to largely normal for the pumpkinist mythological figures, Spyder has a few stories, in one of which he ends up actually getting beat up by a human village. Festiva does come to his rescue because he doesn't want to fight them. She does say that she will kill everyone in the village as revenge. He tries to persuade her out of doing that, but she won't, so he just puts a sleeping potion in the happiness potion, has her drink it, and then saves an entire human village from his sort of adopted sister's wrath. So, pretty cool stuff. His only other big role in the holy text is after the death of Vinia. He carries her corpse back to the last patch. So, pretty good brotherly stuff. Spyder's 3 holy objects can say a lot about him as a god figure. He has his spider silk cloak, which basically makes him invincible to all harm, which is why he was able to use it to help him in both the situations in which he was getting beat to death by an entire human village and the times that he was trying to save Festiva from the awful mountain. So basically, whenever he wears this cloak, he is unable to be harmed. He also has the whistle that can call the bats. That doesn't do too much for him as a character, except it makes him have control over bats, and it makes bats his holy animals. Speaking of things that are associated with Spyder, we have a nice little display here about bats and bat boxes. Bats are actually the holy animal of Spyder, contrary to popular belief that it would probably be spiders. It's not. It's bats. He also has his potion of happiness, which is the most important, in my opinion, of his 3 objects, because it gives him domain over water, prosperity, happiness, anything you can basically derive from happiness. So a lot of human relationships and friendships are also associated with Spyder, seen in the fact that the first thing he does after he is created is to help Earth free Festiva again, and most of what he does is in protection or to help other people. Spyder is very much like a wandering god, and that can be seen in one of the biggest things that I think represents him the best, which is moving water. This water is moving a whole lot today, and it's rather silty, but I still think it works pretty well. He's also the most, I think, lighthearted of the accomplices, as the other 2 deal with a lot more serious topics, and he has a lot more to do with things like more trivial things, which aren't really that trivial, but they seem more trivial in the face of things like the environment or war, conflict, that kind of stuff, like happiness, any other kinds of emotions, friendship, stuff like that, but I do think that is really important. Anyway, this is a tarot card that I associate with Spyder because it generally means it represents prosperity, good things, and that's what I think we need to keep in mind when it comes to Spyder. water is a life-bringing thing, and it also brings prosperity, things like that, which it doesn't really connect that way as it does today, but in a lot of more symbolic ancient cultures, water would be a very life-bringing substance, and I think that's why Spyder often gets cut short in the modern day. Spyder's demeanor is very lighthearted, and he is a traveling god, which basically means his whole role in the world is basically just to travel around. He's also the closest thing we have to a trickster god, and I can see him probably playing pranks on the other accomplices. A lot of the material realm is attributed to Spyder, and I also think his associations could have a lot to do with friendship as well, because he is the person in the Pumpkinist pantheon who does the most helping and good for others, and given that he rules over things like happiness, I think they could be put under that guise as well. Spyder is celebrated in the summer, which is the time when everything is very green, and it's also the time when water is not the most frozen, and it is also the time that you would associate basically running wild and having fun in, which I think is essentially the character of Spyder. He's more light-hearted than his sisters, which makes him seem less important, but that doesn't mean he is, because his aspects that he brings into our lives are no less important than those than Festiva and Vinia bring. They seem more trivial because they're more focused on the individual, which I think is what Spyder mainly does, is he focuses on the individual needs rather than the needs of entire society. I'm not saying that Spyder himself has decided to focus on any of us, I'm just saying that what he rules over, things like friendship, happiness, prosperity, that kind of thing, are more focused on the individual more than war and the connection of humans with the environment is. So, yeah. An idea, an input from Wilhelm is, although these things seem like personal needs, a happy, prosperous society is good for everybody. I hope this probably rather brief video has given you some insight into who Spyder is, what he represents, and what roles he plays in the holy texts. Have a lovely day, Pumpkinists, happy day, and all hail the great pumpkin.
Oh, it was completely frozen?
Speaking of things that are so... Which is the first difference... Which epic Wilhelm is here? What's up, gamer?
Hello.
Which is why you must be wary of the slippery slope to communism. From who he is,
Really, cause travel.
Trevor? Yep, Trevor. That's what she said.
That's, yeah, definitely.
Is that your Tinder boyfriend? Is why I think Spyder is...
Your mom first appears at her birth!
You're gonna have to stop, buddy.
Pumpkinism at the river.